with martial arts and badminton, and both of those I've taken to the national, international level. International level with the martial arts and the regional, national level with badminton. Also football I've taken to like the club level, but I didn't explore that much, I'll be honest.
I did swimming first, then tennis afterwards. Then I had golf in between, which was like on and off. As I got to the age of 13 or 14, I had to pick one, either swimming or tennis, because I really couldn't balance both at the same time, so I picked tennis as well. As a result, then I pursued that more competitively at a national level when I was like between 15 to 17.
You are hyper-competitive in sports and academics. Poster boy twice. So like, how the fuck do you manage to do well in tennis?
I go to train at usually 4 to 6 before school. You know, school would be 7 to 3. Training would usually be from like 5 to 7 or something. If it was one of those days where I had to train on Monday with martial arts, I would go train martial arts after my badminton because that was when the higher graded belts would train. So I had to go for that.
So you had school 7 to 3, then I would go for training 4 to 6, then sometimes maybe there'll be some CrossFit or something afterwards. So like 8 to 11, but this is like on a busy day. If it's just a normal day, then it's like 4 to 6 training, then maybe like gym afterwards, then just homework at night.
If I really found for sure, okay, because I did this training on this day, I messed up my exam, I will focus up and make sure I get my grade down. Academics are really important. The sporting is a passion and it is good to have that on the side, but the academics is what's going to build your future.
Welcome back to the Tyler Show. I'm your host, Hazel Byron. Today, we got two of my closest friends. Well, they're not here, but I got Ehsan and Zen.
You're such a dickhead.
Hey, I know, I'm such a nice guy. So today we'll talk about sports and academics. How do you balance the two? Ehsan, what are the sports that you got into during your school life?
Well, during my school life, obviously I've taken the approach of trying as much sports as possible at a young age, but the ones that stuck were martial arts and badminton, and as of recently powerlifting. With martial arts and badminton, and both of those I've taken to the national, international level. International level with the martial arts and the regional, national level with badminton. Also football I've taken to like the club level, but I didn't explore that much, I'll be honest. But yeah.
Okay.
And now I would say I really focus on my powerlifting, and I really want to take that as far as I can, because I feel like I've found the sport that's really for me in that.
Okay, Zen, what sport do you get into in school life?
I did nothing, I just jerked off at home.
Okay. Bro, just the fuck, just say it.
When I was younger, I didn't really have a wide variety.
Yeah.
Like the main sports that all the boys used to play was like football, basketball, all those team sports. Right?
And he chose tennis, you selfish fuck.
But I didn't do those main sports the last time, but I started off with swimming and tennis, which was, I did swimming first, then tennis afterwards. Then I had golf in between, which was like on and off.
You did golf as well?
Golf?
You didn't know that?
You know this, huh?
But it wasn't. But as I got to the age of 13 or 14, I had to pick one, either swimming or tennis, because I really couldn't balance both at the same time. So I picked tennis as well. Like, as a result, then I pursued that more competitively at a national level when I was like between 15 to 17.
Right.
Then after that, I just got lazy and I'm doing nothing now.
When he says nothing, he's in uni now. He's in uni. COVID's hit. He's a lazy bastard now. But he's not. But yeah, Ehsan. You said you did multiple sports during your school time. Was it ever tough balancing sports in school?
I would say it was definitely tough, and it definitely took sacrifice, but I would say the two complement each other at a certain, once you find that balance, which gets more difficult as the higher you move up like the education hierarchy. Like when you're in a university, you're gonna have to sacrifice. But if you're someone in your teens or maybe secondary school, maybe even A level, you can find a way to get that balance, I think. And I think the two complement each other in the sense that if you really want to be good at your studying, you just doing any kind of physical activity will improve your ability to put some work in, like academically speaking, you know? I think they complement each other.
Okay, the thing is, I'm asking the same question to Zen.
Yeah.
But Zen, you are hyper-competitive in sports and academics. Poster boy twice. So like, how the fuck do you manage to do well in tennis? I remember like, this thing year 9 or 10. Mr. May came up to me because you had tournament in year 10. You broke your ankle, but you still went. I think, is that right? Year 10, right? Or year 9?
Year 10, but I still managed to pull off a silver for my county.
Exactly. So Mr. May got mad because you skipped class for the tennis tournament, but you still went. How do you do tennis, but still make sure your academics weren't being affected?
Okay, to be honest, right, at that point, I was just settling for an A in math.
Just settling for
at that point, but I didn't really see the importance of not saying having that balance, but I had that balance.
Yeah.
So I would have school like 7 to 3 lah.
Yeah.
Then afterwards you have training, then sometimes maybe some night training as well, then go home, do some homework. But at
Wait, tell me the time. Tell me your average day like.
last time,
Yeah. On the busiest, how was your average day like?
like on normal days, like maybe, but this is 9 to 11, yeah?
Yeah.
After 12 and 13, some stuff happened.
Right.
But 9 to 11, so you had school 7 to 3. Then I will go for training 4 to 6. Then sometimes maybe there'll be some CrossFit or something afterwards. So like 8 to 11.
Yeah.
But this is like on a busy day lah. But
Yeah.
if it's just a normal day, then it's like 4 to 6 training. Then maybe like gym afterwards. Then
Yeah.
just homework at night.
Okay.
But at an earlier age, like year 9 to 11, it was easier to balance it because there wasn't as much schoolwork.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would prioritize my sports more compared to academics, which I mean at that time I saw it as the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But once I hit 12 and 13, I had to cut down a bit more.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but don't lie to them. If you got an A in maths, you kill yourself. Don't lie.
No,
You would never settle for less than A star anything.
Okay, but at that point but towards IGCSE time, I stopped. Like towards the exam time, I stopped my sports and stuff for like I think a solid 1 or 2 months.
Right.
So I can focus more on my GCSEs because that was my priority at that point. So like at different points during your year, you will have different priorities.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe if there's a tournament going on, you would prioritize your sports more because you obviously want to excel in that. Then when your exams are coming, then you want to focus more on your exams.
For sure, yeah.
So like you need to find that balance that Isan said before.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, Hassan, so tell me what's your busiest day like?
So again, I would say my most busiest time with regard to like sporting and academics would have been around year 9 to 11. Yeah.
Okay.
This is when I was balancing. Well, we're gonna see if this is a balance or not. But but I was in the process of getting my red belt and my black belt. So I had to do grading and training for that, in addition to preparing for tournaments in Texas, international tournaments. So this is martial arts. And of course, badminton was a sport like I really invested a lot of time into. So there's badminton and martial arts. And a typical day would look like, so this is on a super busy day. This would happen, I would say 2 or 3 times per week, you know?
Okay.
So like on a Monday usually, in the morning, my coach would call me up and say, dude, training at 4 a.m.
Okay.
So I go to train at usually 4 to 6 before school.
Okay.
And then, school would be 7 to 3.
Yeah.
And then after that, my training would usually tend to be quite late after school. So I would come home, sleep. And then training would usually be from like 5 to 7 or something.
Okay.
And then if it was one of those days where I had to train on Monday with martial arts, I would go train martial arts after my badminton, because that was when the higher graded belts would train. So I had to go for that. So that would be my busiest day. So on a day like that, there's no academics being done, frankly.
Yeah.
But there's rest days, of course, where like maybe the Tuesday after I don't do any sort of training whatsoever. So and I would agree with Zen when it comes to balancing academics and sports. It's not that you need to find a balance every day. Is that you need to have periods of prioritizing things.
Right.
So if your sporting is really that much important to you and you have a tournament coming up, you best be sure that both of us, we're going to train hard and prioritize our nutrition, sleep, and all these things to make sure we perform our best. School could take a back seat for now. When exams come, like we're going to have, it's just going to happen where we have to train less and we need to put in the hours, studying, so we do well in that regard too. So it's not necessarily a day-to-day balance.
Right.
It's making sacrifices at the right points in time.
Okay, then I'll ask Bobby the same question then. If you had to pick between sports or academics, which would be high priority, or are they the same?
At which age, depending?
Okay, at your busiest age, 9 to 11, at that time to you, what was the higher priority?
I wouldn't say there was a higher priority.
Is it about the same?
I mean, okay, at year 9,
Yeah.
like guys don't listen to me. Academics was like fuck all.
Yeah.
And you could like
that's
if you pull off like a C for anything, you can still get to year 10.
Yeah.
So like
Dude, in year 9, most of my grades were C's and fucking B's.
I'm making a mistake. It wasn't 9 to 11. This is 10 to 12 for me. This is a 5th form. This is when I was doing O levels. Yeah, sorry.
So this is like my priority at that point was just tennis. So like I could just do whatever I want with my sport and just like academics can just put a hold on because it's year 9 basically.
Yeah.
And then
year 9, no one cares.
10 and 11 was, I mean, not 10 was still like, I would train every day, and then academics was just like, the exam comes and you just study like the night before or something. But then 11, that's when it sort of mattered a bit more, cause GCSEs. I mean, it is important to an extent, but A levels obviously is more important.
Definitely.
But you still have to find that. I found that balance a bit more better in 11, but 9 and 10 it was just sport.
If I tell you now, would you do better academically if I took the sports away?
Yeah.
Would you say yes?
No.
Yeah, I was
Why?
gonna say the same thing.
Why?
Because while you know both things are important, I don't want anyone to necessarily suffer because of the other one. But if I really had to choose, like if I really found for sure, okay, because I did this training on this day, I messed up my exam, I will focus up and make sure I get my grade down. You get me?
Yeah.
Yeah, like academics are really important.
Right.
The sporting is a passion, and it is good to have that on the side. But the academics is what's going to build your future. You know.
Right.
So I wouldn't do so much sporting even back then to the point where it would affect my grades too much. You know, I still wanted to do good. That's what I would say.
Moving on to A levels, then what changed then mentality wise?
Yeah, A levels.
A levels, my asshole was this small before A levels. Afterwards, it was like this. Okay, but like A levels, not saying I had to cut down. I didn't really have a choice because in year 12 and 13 there wasn't as many international tournaments to train for. There was only local ones, so there wasn't much motivation to train anymore compared to before.
Yep.
So as a result, I stopped playing tennis as much compared to when I was in 9 to 11. So at that age, I was a bit lost because what I was really passionate on doing was just not say cut off my life, was just didn't have a big part anymore. So I had to find like what I want to do differently. Because you know when you're going up your ladder of life or whatever as you get older,
trajectory of life,
your priority is different, and then you will have different set goals every single year. Like as of right now, if you ask me to compare my priority now and when I was an athlete, it's obviously really, really different.
Okay. The thing is, like, because in year 13 you had house captaincy, in year 12, for majority of year 12 you don't have house captaincy towards the end, so right. So that's bit of year 12 where you had nothing.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Pretty empty, not gonna lie. I was just lost with life. I was like, I've been training for like long time for what I really was passionate about. Then it suddenly got took away from me, so I had to like find a new passion basically.
Because I've known you since for year 8, 9. Because ever since I remember, okay, when you finish school, you went training, you come back at 9, 8 or 9, and talk to me. You always had something to do. You're always busy as fuck. In year 12, you're so busy at school, but you weren't that training busy, and you look okay. I'll say it right, but in terms of year 12, there's some points where you look sad.
Yeah, I mean it was cause I didn't really have, not saying didn't have the passion, but didn't have the opportunity to pursue my passion as much as before. So obviously, there's times during your life where you just feel lost to be like, what am I doing with my life? Like I was gonna do this, then it got not say it got taken away, but then your priorities change. You're like, what am I supposed to do now? There's obviously those times, and those are the times when you like. You know how everybody says things happen for a reason? Yeah. Like, it may not be what you want at the end of the day, but it's going to be something that works out for you.
Right.
So that's just what happened. So I've prioritized my studies a bit more than maybe tried doing other things. That's when I picked up Frisbee a bit more competitively. Then I that's not a high level, but I played with a few friends in a local tournament. I mean, we got fucked pretty badly, but it was pretty fucking fun.
Yeah.
So like your priorities can change, and it will change. It does change.
It's just finding an alternative to what you did before, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You changed countries in year 12 and 13.
Yeah.
How did it affect from training every single day, the same people, the same coach, etc., moving to an entirely different country, new school, new friends? How did you adapt? What'd you do?
You know this very well when I say that year 12 Isan was fucking depressed. I would say that was the worst point I've been in my life, in that year 12, that transfer. Yeah. That was a low point. Like I can't imagine. I got through that mostly because of guys like you, really taking me in properly and making sure I felt welcome. But in addition to just the shock of changing cultures and changing countries and losing the ability to practice my passion, which is badminton at the time, it just hit me like a train, dude. Yeah. I did try to play badminton here. I did train with the Brunei national team like once or twice.
Yeah. But how they like? Are they any good?
I didn't get to really, I would say, scout the environment, but would definitely say as I think I was under 17 at the time or under 19. In a national tournament, I can see myself getting to like a semis.
Okay.
Or like a quarterfinals or something.
Okay.
But what caught up with me when I started training here and I got my sparring partner and everything, my injury. So I have an injury to my shin called compartment syndrome, right? Yeah. It's an overtraining injury.
Yeah.
And because of that, badminton just became what was my passion just became painful, and no matter how much I wanted to train, it just depressed me more. So badminton, just faded, and now I was in a new country, and in a very low point, and I had no outlet for that at all. This is when I started experimenting with like lifting, training with weights and powerlifting and stuff like that. And that was I would say that was a great form of stress relief. It helped my overall mental state a lot, and it helped me focus on my work a lot. What happened in year 12 with regard to that too, I think 3 months in of training, I got injured. I got a lower back injury. Doing a stupid 1 rep max attempt. It was like 120 kilos.
Wait, what?
It was like 125 kilos, yeah.
Deadlift?
Wait, 1 rep max, that's me,
That you got injured? Oh my God.
That was year 12, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. So my 1 rep max now is what, probably? We want to say 225
Wait, see kids. It's always a start. This guy got injured at 120. Now it's 220 for easy, man. It's like...
Yeah.
God damn.
So yeah. So that injury happened, and now so I couldn't play badminton.
Yeah.
I couldn't train with weights.
Yeah.
That was the worst place I've been in.
And I can fucking tell you look like a depressed monk. Like, you talk to anyone.
I shaved my hair low for some reason.
Yeah, you didn't talk to anyone.
You shaved your hair?
No, you had short hair. Short hair.
I had really short hair back then. Yeah. That was on purpose. That was a bad point for me, and I don't know how I got out of that. I fixed my injury. That helped a lot. But then
you just persisted. I guess the mindset of your past 4 sports, the resilience, the patience, the just going through things, help with that, right?
I would say, even though my mental state was really in a bad place, like what helped me back then was I just dove headfirst into as much work as possible. Like if you caught me in school, like I didn't talk to anyone. I was just in the ELC doing work all the time because I didn't want to be left too long with my thoughts. I didn't even want to socialize because I was in such a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
But I got out of that because of people like you. And year 13, Isan was a much better version, and I'm happy with him, and I'm happy with this version right now. So happy.
Which links back to you, because in year 12 you had your grade 8 piano thing, right?
That was year 13.
Year 13.
Oh, and that was a harder balance, to be honest.
Because you still had grade 8 piano, you still had DOE stuff. You started university. What I'm trying to say is, like, both of you guys, as great you are as sports and shit, I don't understand how you can be committed to that and academics and outside sports and stuff. You still did DOE Gold. You still did your fucking grade 8 piano shit. That I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the fuck grade 8 is. I didn't. What's grade 8?
But my sportsmanship is crap.
Yeah. I'm saying now, dude. You remember like who's against the year? You versus a solo game. You versus year 12, year 11.
Bro, I basically lost it.
Yeah, you lost, and I've never seen you so angry. You took your racket, I smashed on the ground.
Oh shit.
Dude,
I have never seen you raise a voice or get angry.
Dude, I'm a chill guy.
Yeah,
I'm really, really chill
bro,
guy.
how you were so angry, so pissed. Then you called me that night, like, tell me what the fuck, I hate myself, fucking angry. And I'm like, you go, calm down, it's one match.
I mean, happens. Whenever you lose yourself, like, you don't get angry at the person. You get really pissed off at yourself. Like, you just make so, like, you just look back at the game and like, why did I make so many careless mistakes? Like, I could have just got the ball back in nicely.
I hate that so much.
But instead, you had to go for power and try to go for more winners. That's what.
Yeah.
Like, but at the end of the day, like, looking back at it, it's just a learning experience. Everything that you go through in life is a learning experience. You just get better from it. Like, you learn every single day.
Okay, why DOE Gold? Why DOE Gold?
I don't know, just doing it for the UCAS qualification. That was the only reason I did it. And then piano grade 8, the only reason I finished that was because my parents forced me to. Otherwise, I would have quit long time ago, like grade 3.
Okay, so I get so I get the sports, right? Both of you have done instruments, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Dude, I'm Chinese. Like, every Chinese person either plays the piano or the violin. It's either one of those two stupid instruments. You won't be able to quit that and finish grade 8.
Jesus.
What was yours? Yours was...
I'll be honest, I just got introduced to it at a young age. I just like, I want to take this to a decent grade. I did it until grade 4, and I'm staying there. I have no need to go on from that.
What was your instrument?
And I did a piano. And I did singing also up to grade 5. Grade 5. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was your reason? You just found passionate about it?
I wouldn't say piano wasn't really a passion. No, I'll be honest. Like I don't play piano these days, and I don't miss it, to be honest. But singing, I really do enjoy.
Okay.
I would say I'm passionate about it.
How is a tennis playing swimmer / maths guy and a karate weightlifting singer?
Don't you say karate?
Sorry,
don't you say
kung
karate?
fu,
I will pin
weightlifting-
you right now, dude.
Weightlifting singer.
Powerlifting, dude. You got all of mine wrong.
Powerlifting. Sorry.
Weightlifter. Bodybuilder.
What made you get into your biomed and what made you go into fucking actuarial science? I know yours. Why you got into that? But why did you get into biomed?
Well, the game plan at the start was medicine, and then at a certain point in year 13, I realized, okay, if I want to go to the UK, medicine probably is not likely.
Yeah.
And when I really thought about what I wanted, the people who go into medicine have to sacrifice a lot of their life and their passions just to focus on their career. I don't think I would have been able to balance the workload of a medicine degree with all of my passions and stuff.
Me too.
There's no way I could have done that.
Me too.
It's not a sacrifice I was willing to make.
You hated bio GCSE, bro.
No, dude, I wanted to study medicine, bro.
You hated bio GCSE.
I love the bio.
Remember, were you like 1 mark? You got A by 1 mark, I think, for
Bro,
bio.
bio is my favorite science. You know, the mitochondria,
Yeah.
the reproductive system.
So yeah, you got into it because of sports science?
So the biomedical science is a degree, gives you so many options. I could go into medicine still if I want to.
Right.
So that's why I went with that. You know, it gives me a lot of options, and it gives me options that I like. Whether I go into sport and exercise physiology at a research level, or I go back into medicine, or I become a sports medicine doctor or something like that. I have all different routes, via that degree. So that was why I went with biomedical science. And frankly, it's not the worst thing. Like, I don't hate my degree, which is good.
Really? Okay, that's rarity compared to me. For longest I've known you, architecture was the thing you could go for.
Yep.
You changed in year 13. Last minute, I think. Why?
Because I've got a real passion.
You're a fucking heart for data science. Okay, tell me why. What you changed?
The money. No, I'm kidding. But like, initially,
Okay, you told me it was money.
that was all jokes.
All jokes, yeah? What was the actual reason?
I was supposed to go down to architecture
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like I wanted to like take over my dad's business, right? Because he's an architect and he's in charge of his business here. But then I swapped routes, not saying because I think because my maths is a really strong subject of mine, so I want to take it further. But this has nothing to do with my sports or anything. Cause
Yeah, it's nothing. You never did programming. You never did. You did stats and A-level maths, but that's about it. I don't see how you got into this.
cause my uncle sort of talked me into it as well. Cause like I was always really, really interested in the investment route for all these kind of degrees, right?
Yeah.
So if I could do finance, but it doesn't really open up my career that much. If I do actuarial science, I can analyze risk as well at the same time, and like go into insurance and pension funds and all that kind of things. But it also opens up to like a bunch of different branches. So I can go into investment or like accountancy or any sort of business related degree. So that's the main reason why I picked. I mean, the money is also there as well, but it's an insanely hard degree to pass. Only like 40% pass rate.
Really?
Wow.
40% pass rate.
You never told me this.
I did tell you this. I said it's a low pass rate.
You told me the high income degree, but you never told me how low the pass rate was.
The pass rate is really, really crazy though. So I have to, at this age, find a bit more balance. Cause my first year uni, I sort of just wasted it, partying.
You say wasted it. You said it's wasted. What's your average the first year?
I averaged it first, but it was.
No, say your percentage. What's your percentage?
It's like 80 something.
Yeah, wasted first year. Wasting first year, getting 40% or 50%.
When I say wasted, I mean I could have done a lot better. I mean I did my sports as well, right?
Yeah, what else could I have done? Build a time capsule?
No, I
Go
mean-
Mars?
Instead of wasting my time sleeping the whole day after being hungover, waking up in some random girl's room. but like, the thing is,
God.
I could have improved my social network at the age and like join more societies to just meet new people.
Right.
Because the one thing that's really, really important at this age, right, is not the partying and stuff. Obviously, that's fun, but you need to increase your social network.
Right.
So by the time you get out into the working age, you will be able to know quite a bit of like network of people that can help you. That's the one thing I feel like I didn't do well in my first
Do you
year.
reckon you're still competitive as you were in sports? The drive you have towards tennis, do you still have the same drive when you go to university and just working in general?
First year, I'm quite sure I can speak for a lot of first years.
Yeah,
They just
honestly.
partied.
I just wasted all my time.
Yeah, I mean, I had 6 months, didn't I? Didn't. So, first year, you wish you did more, right? The drive wasn't as strong as you wanted to be.
But the thing is also, like, every time after you look back after the end of the year, everybody's gonna be like, oh, they wish you did more.
But you enjoyed it, right? You enjoyed your
Obviously,
first year.
yeah, I enjoyed it, but for me, I've got high expectations for a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So when I said I wish I did a lot more, I mean, obviously, yeah, first year definitely I could have done a lot more because I legit just fucked around the whole year. And
Literally.
fuck all. But at the same time, you're meant to enjoy and have fun as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, you have high expectations. That's the reason why you look back and be like, oh, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve because of those really high expectations. So I think that's a bit of a problem for me as well. Not problem, but like something I need to work on.
Okay, then you know your drive and you're generally very self-motivated, very intrinsic motivation, most of the stuff. How did you approach your first year, and how did you look back on it?
So when I agree with Zen. My first year I could have done way better. I still did good. I left first year with on track for.
Before you continue.
For first class.
City University of London. That's right.
Cass Business School.
Cass Business School, Queen's Mary, London. Okay, go on.
So I really think I could have done better in terms of finding opportunities for getting internships and work experience done, because in my field that is absolutely vital after my third year. Vital.
With a T.
But yeah, I didn't do any of that at all, and I would say I did the bare minimum when it came to work, but I still did fine. I did good. I did. You know, I'm happy with my grade, but I honestly could have done more outside of just getting the grade down. You know, because university is really more than just getting the grade, unlike secondary school. But what I spent my first year doing, like, I'm not a party guy. I don't drink. So I spent
none of us drink. We never drink. Sen, what was it than me?
Now, when I say drink, I'm referring to being well hydrated.
Yeah.
Of course, water.
Water. My guy. Yeah.
So yeah, I spent my first year. I dove headfirst into training as often, as hard as I can. My training was my job in my first year. I also wasn't in a very good place, I would say, in my first year for reasons.
I'm pretty sure I called you multiple times your first year.
Yeah. And so you know what was going on. But yeah, I would say my training was like I took solace in my training in my first year. My training definitely, I would say, took away from my academics in my first year of university, and I wish I didn't do that. Because
you had such a bad time, not a bad time, but since you got what you didn't expect, most of your frustration went to training, right? Full on training.
Yeah. My training was on point, I would say. My diet was on point. That was the leanest I've ever been. I made a lot of progress in that year. It's a shame I messed up my competition, but it's okay.
Number one, like, what's your leanest?
I was like maybe 12% body fat.
A picture's gonna pop on the screen, so then
oh, you're gonna put that?
Yeah.
So that was like 12% body fat.
50% body fat.
Shut the fuck up. The highest I've seen is probably 15%. That was
50%.
That was like.
I'm like 15% now. Let's put it that way. No fucking.
After first year, I think when you first came to Brunei, 2 months after that, you stopped training, right? The fattest I've seen you was 15%.
No, 50%, bro.
15%.
I was like obese, like, you know that big obese motherfucker, like.
You were never big your entire life. You were never big.
And you know how it's called boobs for girls, right?
Yeah,
it's called
moves
for guys.
You never had that. I had that. I don't have fucking feels. Fuck you. I'm the fat one. No, this is the again.
Taha's getting offended.
No, I'm the fat. Dude, these cunts don't have feels, right? Being a fat guy, it's hard. Yeah, so going back to that shit, you wish you did more academically and just networking.
I would say so, but that being said, you know, for a first year, it was still like in the higher percentile of students. Yeah. So you know what, I regret it, but in year 2 I will do better.
Does your first year matter?
In terms of weighting for the overall degree, it's like 10%. And then second year is 30%, last year is 60%.
Mine was supposed to be the same thing. Yeah. But then they were like, fuck first year.
Yeah.
0% now. So my second year is 40%.
Yeah.
My third year is 60.
Yeah. I think we're doing something different in that they adjust the weightings, and based on the weighting that gives you the best grade, they will give you that one. So
oh really?
Yeah. So that's what Queen Mary is doing. Yeah. So it's a good thing I did kind of good in my first year. I got an extra 5% for that or something.
Both of you, 3 courses, right? Both of you.
I'm doing
3 courses.
3, but if I get my placement year, which is what I'm applying for right now, then it'll be 4.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Both of you fucking hyper competitive, huge drive. After you
Big dick.
average dick.
Don't put that on the screen. No.
What's the plan? So after you do uni degrees, right? I know you want to get into investing, that kind of shit. You love sports. You love athletics. You love that kind of shit. Fuck off. You do. Right? After you graduate, where would that place go? Are you still going to do any sports?
Obviously, I not say I'll do as much as uni and like high school. Because by that time because I was doing an internship. I can't remember when the fuck was it. I was doing an internship in July.
Yeah.
No, July. Was it July? No, summertime. July, August.
Yeah.
And it's not saying it was harder to find the balance, but I was working from 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got home from work, it would be like 6.
Yeah, it's different matter, right?
So then sometimes I'll go to the gym at night, or like sometimes I'll play tennis at night.
Yeah.
Or like do some other things, but finding that balance at that age will be a lot harder. And especially for me, right, because after I finish my degree, I'll have to take exemption exams afterwards.
Yeah.
And my uncle said last time, the 4 years after uni was hell for him because he was working 9 to 5, sometimes can be even longer than that. Get home, eat dinner, then study until like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. just to pass the exemption. Because I told you the exam is like 30-40% pass rate, right? Yeah. So I don't think I'll not say have a place for sports at that time, but again, I also don't know what's going to happen.
I'm not saying at that time, I'm saying once you graduate, get the job you want, right? When you have the job you want, do you reckon you'll still be doing some physical shit?
Obviously, yeah, for sure, but it won't be as frequent as now. But like I was going back to my point before, I will be more busy for maybe the first few years because I need to get my exemptions, to get my IFOA qualification, my Institute Faculty of Actuaries, which is the qualification that all qualified actuaries will get. Yeah. But you need to pass all these bullshit exams.
And the pass rate is 40%.
40% now. So for the first 4 years, I will try. I'll have to find that balance again because as you get older, like as time goes on, that balance like changes.
Priorities change, obviously.
Yeah,
priorities change. So yeah, after you graduate, right? I know he has exams. After you graduate, what would be are you still gonna do weightlifting going on after graduation?
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. So I intend to always have powerlifting or some sort of strength training in my life. Right. I place a lot of importance in that, like maybe more than I should. Yeah. I would say I'm borderline dependent on having that be a constant in my life. If that goes away, I don't know where I'll be. I feel like I need to have it in some capacity. Maybe not in the capacity I'm not all or nothing. I'm not going to be like, okay, if I don't achieve this particular goal by the end of this year, I'm not going to break down. But I feel like I need to, for me, have that constant in my life, So yeah, I will definitely pursue that. I think I'm gonna take it to a few extra levels. I coach. Yeah. I coach you.
Video coming out soon.
Yeah. He's killing it. But yeah, so what I intend to do is spend even more time on my passion, on not only improving me as an athlete, but improving others and achieving their goals, whether that be in strength or physique or whatever that is. Like I really want to make that something I do on the side. It may not be a great source of income. Right. But I think as a passion project on the side is something I will really enjoy doing.
Okay, but that's something you bring up though. Income.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you're very materialistic?
Not really. I'm the biggest cheapskate you know. But when it comes to gambling, that's a different story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depends on what we talk about. You cheapskate on yourself, yeah.
But when it comes to other people, it's like obviously a bit.
Yeah, you cheapskate on yourself.
Yeah.
Not to other people.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, like, dude, what's your financial goals? Do you care about how big your house is, how big your car is, that kind of shit?
For me, I'm quite simple. I mean, the house is an asset, it's an investment. So, because I don't want to go into like the specific detail, right? But the house value will always appreciate. But then if you buy a nice car...
Not in Bangladesh, brother. Atlantis, I get you.
But if you buy a nice car, the depreciation rate will be like 25% a year. So I just want a car that can get me from point A to point B. When I graduate, maybe when I'm older, my mindset will be different. But as of right now, I just want to get a car that can go from point A to point B and just earn me the money. That's my set at the moment. Okay. Not having a nice car and all that things by the age of like 25 is like sort of unfeasible.
Yeah, really. Thank you. Thank you you said that, because most people think, okay, by the time I graduate, in 2 years' time, I'll have a fucking mansion of a nice Lambo, and life is good. That's not life.
In the short term, that's good. But if you really want to be like financially stable for the decades to come, you want to I think this decade from 20 to 30, this is when you make the sacrifices to set you up for the rest of your life, you know? This is when you want to be living below your means and saving and investing. I think this decade is really vital.
So what are your financial goals? Do you have any financial goals?
Not particularly, no. I would say your question with being materialistic. I would say that I have a few baseline things. I want a gym membership so I can train. I want to be able to eat. You know, so I wouldn't say I'm very materialistic, but I would like to be financially stable and free, you know, for the future. And if that means for this next decade I have to make some sacrifices and live below my means, I will do that.
Same.
Which brings to what makes you happy? What makes you happy?
Money.
I got it.
I mean, like...
No, okay, we'll say by the time you're 50 or 60, like what's something you want by the time you're 50 or 60 that you'd be happy with?
That I can't really say at the moment because I'm not looking far long term. But short
right
term,
now, what makes you happy right now?
Sex with your mom.
Cut that man out, Tara. Cut that man out.
I didn't see that coming out.
You know, I'll leave it in. Fuck it, I'll leave it in. Fuck.
The spike in the
Dude, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
He said it so nonchalantly too.
Fuck you.
Dude, he said that so convincingly. You should be worried.
I think it's a deep fucking topic. You're about move.
Nothing changes, bro. I've been like this since I was like 12.
So
okay, at the moment, what will make me happy is like getting a good grade for my degree and like I want to increase my social network at this age, so I will like know a bunch of different people, like just meet as many people as I possibly can. What else? I mean, tennis is still important to me, but isn't the same importance compared to last time.
Okay, but how about sports?
Sports, I mean, it's still a passion to me, but I wouldn't say I would prioritize it as much because right now I'm looking more into investment, and if my investments like kick off, then the money will just come in.
How much? Okay, the question most people say is money. Can money buy happiness? Do you reckon it does?
To a point.
To a point, yes, but like friends and family is also a really important factor. Like for example, you have a lot of money, you can buy as many hookers as you want, as much alcohol as you want, big house and many cars. But if you're lonely, then there's no use also. Like the companionship is really important. That's what I truly believe. Like I'd rather have a lot of friends than have a lot of money. Friends can't buy money.
I was expecting.
No, money can't buy friends.
Okay, so fuck me. But my mom, no friends. Okay, what's your what was the question? What makes you happy?
Well, first of all, I think the thing about happiness, I don't think happiness is something you should particularly aim for. I think happiness comes in periods and points in time, and when that comes, you be grateful for it, and then frankly, that period of happiness will go, and there'll be a period where you're lower, and it's just not a good time. But happiness, I don't think it's something to aim for, no. But I think you should make sure you have a plan of action so that your future is secured, so that you can increase the chances of being happy. You know what I mean? The question to what makes me happy is I've honestly never really thought this through, because I always have, when I have a point in time when I am happy, like now, I just take everything as it comes and I be grateful. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't have a very big circle of friends, but the friends that I do have, I love so much.
And you'll cherish them forever, like your mom. She's the best friend I had.
Dude, I was having a moment.
He was having a moment. I was gonna clip this, make it look good. This guy.
Oh god, that's gold though. Not gonna lie.
My bad. That's
gold.
Fuck it. I'll keep it in.
Don't keep it in. That was gold. That was gold. So I have a very close circle of friends, and I'm very grateful for that. And COVID has been a blessing in the sense that it's allowed me to come back home to my family. I'm grateful for this extra year I've had with them. Also in this past year, I know I have a girlfriend who I love so much, and
come flex your girlfriend. First, my mom.
I'm flex my. She's my biggest flexer. I'll flex her. Yeah.
What flex mate? Okay.
So yeah, I would say those things, and of course, for me personally, progress in my training, and I would say often something that's really made me happy since I've gotten into coaching and stuff, like seeing you progress from where you've been mentally and physically, dude, that brings so much joy to me and makes me feel at peace.
Question goes to both of you, right? Let's say you're talking to some year 9 guy, some year 9 guy in school. What would your advice to this year 9 kid be towards school and life in general?
Drugs, sex, women. That's my advice.
Yeah, I never got to do that stuff, so if you would experience that for me, that'd be great. Yes.
You know what? That's fucking me. Thanks, man. Okay, last question. Fuck's sake.
Wait, you want a serious answer?
Do you have an answer? Yeah.
I've got a serious answer. I've got a serious. Like, at that age,
Yeah.
everybody, like, even at now, your parents will be like, you're gonna think that you need to have your whole life settled out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But you don't need to have that even when you're like 20 or 30 because life just goes on and is unpredictable in many, many senses. At year 9, the one thing that you should be focusing on, I mean, everybody has different priorities. If you're a national athlete, then focus on your sports. If you want to focus on your studies, focus on your studies. If you want to like do some volunteering work, do that. Like just do whatever that makes you happy. That's the important part because like, okay, your parents will be like, oh, you have to study this, you need to be A-star in maths, but then you fucking hate maths. Like, you won't be happy and like, you have to listen to them, but you need to have your own other passions and you need to like pursue. Cause
Definitely. Yeah.
that's what I feel that's really, really important at the age. Because most kids, all they do is, I mean, I'm not trying to shame anyone.
Yeah.
They just play video games at home and like don't really do anything productive. I feel like at whatever age you're at, if you have a passion to like pursue, I feel that that's how you can.
But some argue video games are a passion.
Yeah,
that's that kind.
Yeah, yeah.
But and I want can I talk about this? I might trigger some people. No, I won't say it. I won't say it. I was gonna say I have some close friends who love playing games and want me to play games. I never found. I used to like games in year 9 back in the day, Clash of Clans, Warhol.
Yeah.
But now I can't be asked, man. It's so fucking boring staring at the screen doing shit.
That sounds like me whenever I'm jerking off, sitting at the screen and doing shit. It's boring.
I was having a moment, man.
That's on a roll. What the fuck?
Okay, fine. Okay, okay. I'll end this bit now. What's the one thing you want to do? What's the one thing you want to do before you die?
I don't really have an idea at the moment because I'm 19.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I've only lived like a certain fraction of my life.
Yeah.
So if you ask this to me when I'm 60 or something, I'll probably have a different approach. But as of right now, I just want to travel the world and like explore.
I would agree that it is quite a early time to really be 100% certain as to what the one thing I want to have in life before I die. But what I do know is I really, really, really want to have a family. I know that much. And that's my answer. I want to have a family and I want to be the best dad I can. That's really it.
Daddy.
God. Okay, you know what? That's it. Okay, thanks for watching. This is my comeback video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.